Last time, I talked about a guide that doesn't make us sluggish, disoriented, lost in time, in the wind and road. A guide that could help us navigate dark alleys late at night and proposals with somber undertones and ulterior move. Those kind of proposals that just knocks your door and make you feel unprepared, that you haven't learned anything throughout life, and that you constantly have the need to improve yourself or to learn more about things that probably you didn't even think about it. But why does this happen? Why do we have this feeling of just lack of preparation? Lack of preparation of what's about to be and to come in our lives. It's like we're missing a guide and follow up workshops about what we are supposed to do and for whom. We have our own expectations within ourselves, but we also have to accommodate our narratives in order to create this scenario where our decisions doesn't affect other people, or that we fulfill expectations that other people have about us. And it's some kind of constant dilemma of what should be first in the line. What will be our priority? Trying to reach our own expectations about ourselves, or trying to reach out the expectations of others every time we make a decision? Because the environment permeates us and is constantly challenging us. So if we lose the support from our environment, we might lose ourselves because we won't be able to navigate these tribulations in the same way. Not in the same way as having a strong backup with us. A multi-volume guide filled with memories and voices, reflecting a day, a night, just beyond routine, and the echoing of many voices. A guide to show us how not to go crazy, overthinking, and how not to lose hope in survival. We have this constant back and forth when we overthink certain aspects in our life. Because when we put everything in the table, we're going to encounter so many options to pick, so many possibilities that we cannot even take all of them into account because there are simply too many. Now, with a workshop pending, a live workshop that hasn't been created yet, and if it had, I know it won't cover all the possible if scenarios about a human life. Not yet. So, in order for us to make right decisions, to pick the perfect path that we expect to have and to navigate, we need to consider several aspects that not even our imagination can reach in a hypothetical setting. And after that investigations in our lives, in our heads, now we need to move forward, taking all these probabilities It's exhausting. It really is. Because either the person that doesn't plan anything at all to the person that does, there are some ways and roads people need still have to navigate, have to go through it without even wanting, not even wanting it at all. So when we come up with this echoing of many voices, that is our reasoning. That is our reasoning telling us, hey, this path might be better than the other one because this probability might match what you're feeling right now, what you're expecting, or what you want to do. But that doesn't mean that the voices are going to reduce in volume. That doesn't mean that we're going to stop overthinking just because we got an answer right and the decision that we made was accurate to the moment and time we were facing. So that leads everything like in a pig where our life is constantly balancing, trying to decide if it falls or if just like you stand there in perfect balance. And that's an exhausting process. Overthinking itself is exhausting. Trying to figure out all the possibilities of a decision that we make, it's an exhausting process. So why don't people talk about how this is like that and don't talk about this much? They just tell that yeah, overthinking is bad. But some people might need it. It is the way that we go through it that could lead us in some kind of psychological horror, which is different. So, hope, hoping for the best, hoping that we're going to reach our goals, hoping that we don't stop one day and start seeing everything with a different lens. Because hope is what is going to let us be in peace. But it's also like a double sided weapon because you will always want more. But that more could be something within yourself, or it could come around something in your exterior. And yes, we are constantly in survival mode in some way. Not because everything has been modernized, not because someone needs to go to work every day in an office and has something stable. That doesn't mean that we just stop living in survival. That means living by paycheck by paycheck, living just a beautiful life in the suburbs because that will be a lie. It will be a lie, and we will be lying ourselves because at some point, a percentage of our brain will always be ready for that one. And yes, it could be like a silenced executor waiting to go up, full survival mode. But no, it's just some kind of tool integrated in us where we were working, where we were living. Let me tell you something. The survival mode is something that encourages overthinking a lot. So if you don't have the need to be in survival mode, but you want to quit being an overthinking, Try to think about that. Try to think that, hey, perhaps one is causing the other, or vice versa. Whatever you do, just look up in yourself, because these two are in the end of the world. And as long as they are annoying, and as long as they handling process isn't ideal, thanks to that, we have like some kind of stability in the exterior. But let's continue, because endless attempts and voracious precautions that cover us in mesh, making scraps of chaos, leaving us at the foot of a screen, a net, at the foot of an invitation. Today's heartless probabilities. We need a guy, perhaps a workshop that shows us how to navigate in life. And I totally agree, because in order for us to be accurate all the time, we need to take the precautions that, of course, it is inside the category of survival mode. But I really like the conception of an organized chaos or chaos, because it is some kind of beautiful example of, for example, what an overthinking could have and be. Being an overthinking at the same time, so having balance in their life. Curious sometimes how some human brains works, but here we are to talk about it. So an organized chaos that contains everything we just mentioned before. And since it is chaos, you also have other concerns once it is done. But the probabilities, it is something we cannot determine at the moment. But what else can I say? We need a guide, perhaps a workshop that shows us how to navigate life for once and for all, and that will be great. But now I think we have like more offer than demand. We have a course of everything nowadays and access to it, and all the coupons, and of course discounts and everything, like buy one get the other one free. It's like a whole new market of this age. But sometimes we just want someone to be assertive, because as I was just looking around, I know some things are valuable for others, even though at first sight it could just mean simple things. Open secrets, discordant sounds, dusty woods, rocky or rickety chairs, a scare fortune, silent din, abrupt silences, open secrets, silent whispers. So I said this like in a very poetical way. But what like about it is that, for example, with the books, we don't see the books anymore as pages. We see them in a surrounding that people dislike, with a lot of dust. And for example, the sounds. We're also looking for a pretty nice melody every day. And then we go the discordant type of sounds. abrupt silences. Sometimes silence is too much or too noisy for some others. And those are things that could let us see that perhaps even though we try, things have some organized chaos within themselves. Sometimes they don't, but what we do know is that they are meant to go into a perfect life, a perfect ending at the end of the road. Because each road is different, each path is personal. So you can have your own discordant sounds, your own dusty books, your own abrupt silences, because those are things that you can only see as that. For me, an abrupt silence can be something really different for someone else. And that is very cool, but at the same time, so what is annoying. And that's why we don't have a guide for life. Because if we had, it will need to be a specific per case. We cannot apply rules on how to live. We can only make suggestions. We can make studies. We can make investigations. Bring up the statistics, like a book of life and all the guides and all the workshops included. That's one of the toughest things to do if someone wants to make it a reality. So telling us how to live among seas, clouds, among lands and worlds, among obscenities, foolishness, and futures, both tangible and intangible, silent destinies. And this is the other part that we can face this everywhere, anytime. And I really like the foolishness part because we sometimes forget in order to achieve this type of perfection that we are also meant to be full, meant to commit mistakes, making it easy to just discover ourselves within ourselves and within others. But yeah, everything sometimes is too much, and we just need to do something right quick to make it work, to fix it, to not let our brains confused, perhaps, what is being in this kind of fine line of ordinary. We would like to know in here. But other than that, I truly appreciate that at least if there's no guide, there are like intensive guides consistently showing up per, not per case, but of course in more general settings. For that, we are able to see that people might need it. People might need that confirmation about something she's been dealing about for the next weeks, and that already was on the previous ones. But so far, guidance is about each person's life and personal struggles. I would like to talk more about struggles, about this kind of dark side people don't talk about, because same with this case, they have so multiple options. But of course, let me know what you think. Do you agree with these news? You don't? And if so, do you know someone who also faces something similar? Having the need of a guidance of a workshop because I would love to. So thank you for being here. And until next video. Bye bye.